Well, St. Martin's fans, it seems hard to believe, but we've already just about reached the end of this decidedly strange and abbreviated season. Just when it felt like we were just getting into the thick of things, it all comes to a close just about as quickly as it began. But you know what? It surely beats the alternative of having no games at all. And at the end of the day, we remain resolutely appreciative of and so very, very thankful for the fact that these games are even being played at all. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in on an almost spring-like Saturday night for the final home game of Saints men's basketball and the second game of a two-night home-and-home tilt between two longtime GNAC foes. Alongside Saints Director of Athletic Communications, Austin Burns, I'm Jeff Lucero. Happy to be here with you for the live broadcast from Marcus Pavilion. Our game tonight finds the Saints pitted against longtime Great Northwest Athletic Conference rival, the Central Washington Wildcats, in what will be the fourth game of the Wildcats' 5-game season. We'd also like to welcome in any Wildcat fans tuning in tonight. Very nice to have you along for the broadcast as well. We'll talk matchup shortly, but first, let's chat about the home team. And, well, for the Saints, they come into tonight's game feeling pretty good about themselves as they are fresh off a big win on the road against this very squad last night over in Ellensburg. After the Wildcats hit a 3 to open the scoring, the Saints went on a 17-3 run over the next 7 minutes to quickly gain control of the game. The Saints continue to pile onto their lead over the final minutes of the first half, stretching it to as many as 21 before taking a 45-27 lead into the break while shooting a blistering 64% from the field. The second half began a lot like the first, but in a peculiar turn of events. This time it was Central Washington with all of the momentum. The Wildcats opened with a 16-4 run of their own over the first 7 minutes of the second frame, cutting the Saints' lead to just 6. But St. Martin's quickly responded behind the efforts of Alex Schumacher and Tyke Thompson. A 9-2 run pushed the Saints' lead back to double digits with 10 minutes to play, and with a minute and change left in the game, and the Saints up 16, it all looked like it was all but over. But the Wildcats had one final run left in the tank, ending the game with 11 points in the game's final 78 seconds. The effort got them within 7, but no closer, and the Saints went marching out of Ellensburg with an 80-73 win. Best player for the Saints last night, no question. It was Alex Schumacher. Dude simply went off last night, finishing with 23 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists, leading the Saints in all 3 of those categories. Tyke Thompson had a nice night as well with 13, 4, and 3, while Ty Velasquez and DeMonte Malloy also both finished in double figures. Let's now bring in Austin Burns to the broadcast. And Austin, when Alex Schumacher is playing at the peak of his powers, he is simply an extraordinary talent. After we got done with our broadcast of the women's game last night, I watched the rest of that men's game on my phone, and even Central Washington's broadcast team was amazed by his play. They simply could not stop marveling at his ability. We talk about what a special talent he is all the time, and it was great to hear somebody else recognize his abilities for a change. When he's got it flowing, the Saints are a much, much more competitive team.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Last year, Alex Schumacher, we saw a lot of flashes with him. We saw the potential. We were waiting for him to really put it together. And for me this year, he's made a huge leap forward, and he looks to be a superstar in the making. The three-point shot for him has really improved. Double-digit improvement, up from 28 to 38 coming into this week. And what that does is it forces a lot of defense now to come out and guard him out on that wing. They used to be able to sink back a little bit. They wanted him maybe to kind of shoot that three instead of driving to the lane. And now they have to respect that, which gives him a lot more room to work on the court. And one of the other things he's done so well for the Saints is when he's locked in offensively, it means he's playing great defense. He flies around the court. You know, he's really a game changer, and that's been a piece of his game that is also elevated because of his scoring. His defensive effort, unbelievable.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the defense, because another huge part of last night's effort was the Saints' overall defensive effort. While the Wildcats shot the ball relatively well at 46%, they also committed a season-high 23 turnovers, almost as many as they had in their first 2 games combined. And of those 23 turnovers, 16 were steals by the Saints. Check this out. 5 for John Moore, 4 for Ty Velasquez, and 3 apiece for Shu and DeMonte Malloy. As well, look no further than the defensive effort they turned in against D1 transfer guard David Thompson. He'd come in last night averaging 24.5 points per game in the Wildcats' first 2 games. Check this out. The Saints held him scoreless last night for the entire game. Not only that, but of those 23 turnovers committed by the Wildcats, he had 6 of them. The Saints just completely shut him down at the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, when you talk to Aaron Landon, the first thing he's always going to tell you, it doesn't matter if the Saints threw up 100 points in the game, he's going to talk about the defense. He's a defense-first kind of coach, especially when you see a lot of that zone. Saints did a great job taking away the best weapons last night. It forced Central Washington to make some adjustments. They were able to late in that second half, but time ran out for them, and they weren't able to complete that comeback. So the Saints really used that defense in the beginning of the game, took away the number 1 option for Central Washington. And again, Central was able to adjust. I'll be curious to see how they do coming into tonight to handle that defense. But the Saints, 16 steals on the game. I have to do some digging, Jeff, and see. I don't know if there's been another game in years past that I can think of. The Saints have had 16 steals. What an effort. And this team's really starting to take a step forward as a unit.
We will take our first break here on the Saints men's basketball pregame show. When we return, we will preview the opponent tonight for the Saints, the Central Washington Wildcats. Keep it right here, folks. You're dialed in to the St. Martin's men's basketball pregame show on the GNAC Digital Network.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes, for all of us.
And welcome back into the St. Martin's men's basketball pregame show, and it's time for a quick look at tonight's opponent for St. Martin's. So as we mentioned at the outset, this is the 4th of just 5 games in a very, very short season for the Wildcats. They have only just recently hit the unpause button on all basketball-related activities. Before last night's loss, they had dropped a pair against SPU to open their season last weekend. Now, so despite the slow start, this is still a team with a ton of talent and firepower. For starters, this season's team has no fewer than 3, count them 3, Division I transfers on its roster. We mentioned David Thompson in the previous segment. He arrived in Ellensburg after transferring in from Santa Clara. Gonzaga fans like yourself, Austin, are no doubt quite familiar with that West Coast Conference rival, but the list goes on. C.J. Hyder transferred to Central from Fresno State, while Xavier Smith began his college career over at Idaho. Now, it's one thing to have D1 transfers, but sometimes it's another to have them contribute right away. Well, that's not been an issue at all for these dudes. Despite being held scoreless last night, as we talked about in that opening segment, David Thompson is still the team's leading scorer with 16.3 points per game. And one of those other D1 transfers, Xavier Smith, is right behind him at 13.7. That's a combined 30 points per game. Oh, and by the way, that third D1 transfer, C.J. Hyder, well, he led the team in scoring last night with 15 points of his own. So, yes, this squad is getting a boatload of points from all that Division I talent that they've got in the lineup, but it doesn't end there. 2 other guys, Matt Paquette and Marcus Gilson, both average about 12 points per game, and they are also the Wildcats' leading rebounders, each grabbing about 5 boards per contest. So, yes, a lot of weapons on offense. No real issues with scoring at all for this squad, but where they've struggled so far is at the defensive end, where they've allowed an average of 86 points through those first 3 games as well. They have only 27 assists on 85 made baskets. So they do have trouble finding one another in the flow of the offense, which so far anyway, Austin, has kept them from being the type of efficient and explosive team that Wildcats head coach Brandon Renta would like them to become.
Yeah, make no doubt about it, Jeff. Central is one of the best scoring teams. If the GNAC was in full swing, they'd be right there at the top. It's been their defense, like you said. Opponents are shooting over 50%. It's hard to win ball games. However, they have faced a good squad in Seattle Pacific twice, and then the Saints last night really got the better of them. So, for St. Martin's being able to hold them to only 6 points in about a 7-minute span to open the game, that was a huge feat for St. Martin's. This Central Washington team can flat out score. If you like offense, I think you're going to like today's game. There is no low-scoring affairs for Central Washington this year.
Should be a fun one tonight, to be sure. In action, no doubt, for all 40 minutes. A couple of teams that like to get out in the open floor, fly around, and get after it. We will take our final break on the broadcast before tip-off. When we return, we'll set the stage with some starting lineups and a few last-second thoughts between Central Washington and St. Martin's. This has been the St. Martin's men's basketball pregame show on the GNAC Digital Network. And welcome back inside Marcus Pavilion. It's Jeff Lucero alongside Austin Burns getting set for tip-off between Central Washington and St. Martin's. The final men's home basketball game of the 2021 season. They've got one more game left on the schedule as it's currently structured against Seattle Pacific next weekend. Starting lineup for the Wildcats tonight, they come in tonight with an overall record of 0-3. In the backcourt, number 2, C.J. Hyder, the transfer from Fresno State. He's a 6'2 senior. Joining him in the backcourt, number 5, Lewis Pope, a 6'5 redshirt sophomore from South Whitby. Also in the backcourt, number 11, Xavier Smith, the 6'4 transfer from Idaho. Up front for the Wildcats, number 25, Matt Paquette, a 6'6 junior from Morton. And number 33, Marcus Gilson, a 6'5 senior from Salt Lake City. He also transferred in from Centralia Community College. Interestingly, not in the starting lineup tonight, David Thompson for Central Washington. For the Saints, the starting lineup looks just like this. In the backcourt, number 0, Alex Schumacher. Number 1, Tyke Thompson joins him back there. Also in the backcourt, number 22, John Moore. Number 5, Ty Velasquez. Up front for the Saints, number 13, Goy Wang, who are without Marky Adams. That's an interesting development for this Saints team, the 6'9 post player with a pretty serious foot injury that will sideline him for the Saints' final 2 games of their season. He's awaiting some MRI results. We don't know the extent of that injury, but it does not look good right now that he'll be, well, he certainly won't be able to return for this rest of this season. Let's hope that he's ready to go and ready to play in time for the full season next year for the Saints. But that's a big loss for St. Martin's, to be sure.
Yeah, you're taking out, in my mind, the best big man in all of the GNAC, even in a full season. But my keys to tonight, Central Washington, they got on a run at the end of the game. How do the Saints come back here at the start of this game? Are they able to start how they did yesterday, shutting down the Wildcats' run-and-gun offense? Or, will the Wildcats pick right up where they left off and be able to get on the board? And, again, Alex Schumacher, he's taken his game to another level. Can he keep it going? They've played on the road for about the last month. It's nice to be back inside Marcus Pavilion. I'm sure Schumacher's going to want to put some points up right away.
For the Saints in the home whites, Central Washington clad in the road blacks. We're just about set to go. Tyke Thompson ready to tip things off for St. Martin's. And I believe Marcus Gilson doing the honors. It is, in fact, for the Wildcats. Tip is controlled by Thompson. We are underway. Ty Velasquez sets the offense for the Saints. Central Washington comes out in a man-to-man defense. Wang handles between the circles. Velasquez bluffs it a three now, hands it off for Schumacher. Gets it back from Wang. Cut off along the baseline, needs help. 12 on the shot clock. Schumacher comes back out to get it. He'll reset things as the shot clock winds down. Rolls off the Wang screen, hesitates, accelerates, steps back, fires up a 14-footer along the baseline, a little strong. Wang taps it into the hands of an awaiting Central Washington defender. The first trip for the Saints is an empty one. Let's see what Central Washington can do with their first handle. Saints come out in their traditional zone defense. They played about 50-50, by the way, against Central Washington last night. Had a little chance to chat with head coach Aaron Landon. That's what he told me. About an steady diet of zone and man-to-man defense last night that helped lock down David Thompson and the rest of this Central Washington offense. First shot no good, but an offensive rebound earns an extra possession for the Wildcats at their end. Rolling off the screen is Xavier Smith. Steps back, fires up a 17-footer off bounce. Well short, might have been deflected. Schumacher gathers it, steers it the other way for the Saints. So an empty trip for either team to get things going.
Yeah, for the Saints, they're without their best rebounder in Marky Adams. Schumacher and John Moore are going to have to step up on the boards and grab those defensive rebounds.
Tyke Thompson, a good look at a three, just does spin out of the cylinder. Second empty trip for the Saints. We remain scoreless very early on. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Glad you can be with us. So good to just have basketball to announce here in the state of Washington. Isn't it great, y'all? Isn't it great? Backing down is Marcus Gilson. A wild shot won't fall. Several bodies after the ball. Schumacher tracks it down in the corner, brings it the other way for St. Martin's. Thompson from a spot he just missed at, now starts his drive. Kicks to the corner. Velasquez, a long three on the way. It's a little short. Flying in from the weak side for the rebound is Xavier Smith, and he looks to push. Nearly loses the handle, so he has to regather. Central Washington will run their stuff. Down it comes to the baseline. Cutter through the lane is Marcus Gilson. Gets to the rack, lays it in, and he's fouled. He'll head to the line for the and one. That's how you break down a zone defense right there.
Absolutely, and again, I think the Wildcats taking full advantage. They know not only are you missing one of the best rebounders, but also probably the best shot blocker in Marky Adams. And not necessarily you have to come up with shots constantly, but just that fear is no longer there. And so now the Wildcats know they can get into the paint. I think it's for the Saints. How quickly do they go to a man-to-man as well? I don't think we're going to see much of that tonight.
The first 6 shots of the game between these two teams missed before Gilson able to connect. Could not hit the free throw, so we sit at 2-0. Here's John Moore on the drive. 5 on the shot clock. Floater up over the defense. That won't fall, and the Saints unlucky on their first 4 shots. Xavier Smith with it. Bounces a pass into the hands of Gilson. Into the high post it comes. Paquette could not handle the pass. Thompson the steal for the Saints. Brings it the other way. Now they'll slow things down. Schumacher, the top of the key, crosses over. Left-hand finish. Alex Schumacher picking up right where he left off. That's his first shot of the game, and it falls, and it evens the game at 2. Athletic strength and agility from Alex Schumacher once again on display.
Yeah, it's what I talked about in the pregame. The Wildcats had to come out to that three-point line. You have to respect it now. Schumacher able to use that room down low, explode by. Did a great job using his body to shield the defender as well.
High pass, high post entry pass into the hands of Gilson. Ball taken away as Schumacher on the drive. Takes on not one, not two, but three defenders for Central Washington and beats them all to the rack. Alex Schumacher with the first 4 points for the Saints, and they've got their first lead. Transition three the other way, no good. Strong rebound from John Moore, ripped out of the sky. Back comes Ty Velasquez on the drive. Kick to the corner. Schumacher for three, why not? Got it! Alex Schumacher! A moment ago was laying dormant for the first couple of minutes of this game, and just like that, in about the span of, call it 25 seconds, was 7 points for St. Martin's. What an explosive talent. Paquette, the low blocks at the other end. Spins one way, shoots from the other. Shot won't fall. Velasquez for the Saints. 5-point leader, Schumacher again. Feeling it, why not? A 17-footer will fall, and Alex Schumacher in the span of 45 seconds has scored 9 points. Well on his way to blowing out his 23-point total from last night. What a performance in the last minute and a half of this game for Alex Schumacher. It necessitates a timeout from Central Washington. We'll take it with them. 4 minutes and 25 seconds gone by in our first half, of the Saints with a 7-point lead.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
And welcome back to the Alex Schumacher Show, the Alex Schumacher Showcase. Goodness gracious, dude just went completely sideways. An absolute blitzkrieg of scoring courtesy of Schu. He missed his first shot but has connected on his last 4. 9 points for the Saints, all of them courtesy of the absolutely scalding hot Alex Schumacher.
Yeah, it's a repeat right now of last night. Saints defensively locking down Central. A high-scoring offense, only 2 points through the first 4.5 minutes, and then Schumacher, he's taken over the game, and when he gets going offensively, he can be a game-changer on the defensive end as well.
Well, we're getting our first look of the contest at David Thompson. He checks in, as does Micah Pollard for Central Washington. Remember, Thompson came in having scored 49 points in those first 2 games, those 2 losses against SPU. Held scoreless last night by the Saints. Did not start tonight's game, but he's on the floor now. Corner 3 on the way for Colby Gannett, who also has checked in. He's able to knock that down. No defender rotated back to the near side corner. And Central Washington, for the moment anyway, stems the tide. It's 9-5 Saints. Schumacher handles. Hands it off for Thompson. Now John Moore. Moore asks Velasquez to clear out. Head up, looking for some help. Finds it in Velasquez between the circles. 5 on the shot clock. Schumacher's got to go quickly. We know he can. Will he? What will he do? Pulls up from 3. That's what. That one bounds off. A little bit of a heat check there. So for the moment, Schumacher cools. And Central brings it the other way. Pollard handles, bounces into the high post for Thompson. He mishandles the basketball. Alex Schumacher on the deck with it, trying to find a teammate. Finally does, and Tyke Thompson.
I don't think I've ever seen in a men's basketball game someone sit on the floor that long.
Laying on the floor for like what felt like a minute and a half with the ball. Schumacher dribbles down into the short corner. Velasquez spins toward the paint, now kicks to Wang. 10 on the shot clock. Velasquez back to Tyke Thompson. Thompson on the drive. Backs down on the defender, pulls up from 14. That one just does bound out. It was halfway down and popped right back out of the cylinder. We sit at 9-5, under 14 to play here in the first.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that kind of offense for the Saints. 5 players out on the perimeter, making Central Washington play small.
Paquette skips the pass back to Gannett. Nearly throws his pass out of bounds. Thompson able to retrieve and recover. Paquette can't get the shot to go over Tyke Thompson after the rebound, but it is tapped back into the hands of John Moore. He crosses over, gets into the paint, goes between 2 defenders. What's the call? It's a jump ball. That was, I believe, the right call from our spot anyway.
Same here. Well, now we get to see Seth Coddington and DeMonte Malloy check on. DeMonte Malloy, he's really been playing well down the stretch of the season, becoming an absolute weapon for the Saints off the bench. Both teams with high-scoring options coming off the bench makes for exciting action.
Malloy's a mismatch problem every single night. He laces them up. No doubt about it. We'll talk more about that here tonight. A little out-of-control drive. Lewis Pope has it swatted out of bounds angrily. That was an angry block, Austin.
Yeah, Seth Coddington, he got up there. He made himself look like he was 6'8" right there.
As it is, Coddington stands at 6'1", but yeah, he took that one and threw it out of bounds. A couple of subs returned for Central Washington. Gilson and now Amari Stafford also on the floor for the first time tonight for Central Washington. Thompson handles the inbounds. Gilson backing down into a double team, nearly travels. Winds up getting his pass picked by Alex Schumacher. Head up, kicks to the corner, gets it back. Reverse it into the hands of Malloy. John Moore drifts to the corner. Malloy posted up, looks to back down on the defender. Goes right into the chest of not one, but two Central Washington defenders. Well.
Yeah, first one was a no. Good no call. Second one, you're not going to get away with it twice, though. But I want to go back to that defense there on the inbound. Saints did it perfectly. And watch for it on the next inbounds. DeMonte Malloy, he set up, giving the defender the lane right underneath the basket, and the reason for that is because he knows he has help side defense. So right when the offensive player makes that move, help side defense comes, Saints trap, and that's what led to the steal.
David Thompson dials up his own number. Driving layup won't go, but the tip back is good. And Central Washington crawls back within two. Coddington, one left-handed dribble, picks it up and hands it off to Tyke Thompson. Guarded between the circles, Coddington by Matt Paquette. The switch off puts Thompson on him. Now Malloy from three at the top of the key. That one bounds off. David Thompson gathers in the rebound with nobody near him. Thinks about pulling up for a three. Instead, will pull up just inside the three-point line at the top of the arc. A whistle beneath the basket will keep it, I believe, at the Central Washington end, and it will also bring us to a stoppage in play. So 11:57 left in our first half. Our score, Alex Schumacher 9, Central Washington 7 here on the GNAC Digital Network.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
Bit of a sluggish start to our game here inside Marcus Pavilion. St. Martin's leads at 9-7. Alex Schumacher with all 9 points for the Saints. We'll also be keeping an eye tonight, Austin, on the women's game. They, of course, tangled with Western Washington here in Marcus Pavilion last night. They're playing Western up in Bellingham tonight. Interesting thing, Claire Dingus, you just told me, has all 8 of the Saints' points. So Claire Dingus and Alex Schumacher right now accounting for all of the points in the men's and women's games respectively. And they both have a lead against their opponent.
Yeah, I mean, two absolute superstars emerging, and, you know, again, they just continue to take over games. It's really fun being able to watch, you know, those two flourish in front of our eyes.
Well, DeMonte Malloy whistled for a tough foul. That's already the 4th foul on the Saints. None whistled yet against Central Washington, but important development for St. Martin's. That is the 2nd now on DeMonte Malloy. He'd only been on the floor for a couple of minutes. He'll have to give way, and we'll get our first look at Marcus Linker in the Saints lineup tonight. Also out there now, Josh Camper makes an appearance for St. Martin. So the 5 on the deck for St. Martin's: Josh Camper, Seth Coddington, Tyke Thompson, Marcus Linker, and Goy Wang. Remember, the Saints without the services of Marky Adams. They didn't have him last night. Didn't need him, as it turned out. Still earn an 80-73 victory. Won't have him tonight or for their final game against SPU next weekend. Out for the rest of the season with a foot injury. Get well soon, Marky. Would love to have you back next year. 3 on the way from Micah Pollard. It won't fall. Several bodies after it. A loose ball foul this time whistled against Central Washington, their first of the contest. And it's going against Amari Stafford. So a tough shooting game so far for either side. Saints now 4 of 11 from the floor. Schumacher 4 for 6, by the way. Rest of the team 0 for 5. A little bit of trouble getting it across the timeline as we're seeing some pretty intense pressure in the backcourt from Central. They're able to break it nevertheless. Coddington handles for the moment.
Yeah, I like that pressure from the Wildcats. You don't have one of the primary ball handlers for the Saints. You got the backups in. Nice look from them.
7 seconds on the shot clock. Seth Coddington needs to get it going. He'll pull up from 3. That one just does rim out again. It's about the third 3 of this game for the Saints. That has gone halfway down and popped out. Seth Coddington with a nice defensive effort at the other end. Denies the shot. Thompson will pull up for 3. Little early offense. That one off the back heel. Marcus Linker, a strong offensive rebound among the trees. Eventually travels with the basketball, trying to find some help. A good rebound from Marcus Linker. Just none of his teammates came to help him out. He had 3 guys around him. Somebody's got to come take that ball so that the Saints can reset the offense.
Yeah, for me, the Saints right now doing a good job on the glass. Just those shots, and they've had some good looks. They're just not falling. But right now, this pace definitely favoring the Saints.
Down low it goes to Kyson Rose, the 6'9 freshman from Tri-Cities. Able to equalize. So Central Washington, you can call it a 7-0 run. The Saints haven't scored in about 5 or 6 minutes. So these 7 points, it took them a while to get there, but they have finally tied the game at 9. As we near the halfway point of the first half, we sit at just 9-9 so far through the game's first 10 minutes. Coddington backs down his defender, barrels through him, and is whistled for the offensive foul.
Yeah, first bump, clean, but the moment you go back in for that second one, you're going to get whistled for that 9 times out of 10. And now the Saints going to be able to get Schumacher back on the floor. So honestly, you're able to get a rest for Schumacher. Ty Velasquez still on the bench as well. And it's still a tied ball game. I think Aaron Landon very happy with that.
So yeah, Saints offense had definitely grown pretty stagnant, pretty deficient. So definitely needed to bring Schumacher back to the floor. He has been the story for the Saints here tonight. Here's a step back 3 from Amari Stafford. It's well short. Wang clears it for the Saints. Crosses the timeline with it, finds Thompson in the corner. He'll fire a 3 from in front of the Central Washington bench. That one won't fall. And the Saints' shooting struggles continue. If your name is not Alex Schumacher, you are not shooting well so far in this game for St. Martin's. Thompson handles, got those lavender shoes on, crosses over not once but twice, loses control, finds the cutter along the baseline. That was Colby Gannett flying in, and he gives Central Washington the lead at 11-9. Saints haven't scored in 6 minutes, about 6.5 minutes of game time. Schumacher on the drive, has it taken away cleanly by Thompson. He'll step into a 3 off the back heel.
Usually you see on a fast break opportunity like that, at least get into the paint and then facilitate out. Just decides to pull it for the quick 3.
Camper will try for 3 and knock it down. Now the Saints needed that one. It had been a long time since they had gotten into the scoring column. They retake the lead at 12-11. Camper able to knock down a good look at a 3. That foul called on Alex Schumacher. That's his second. And the 6th foul on St. Martin's. More significantly, though, that is the 2nd foul on Schumacher. And just about as quickly as his most recent run began, he's back to the bench, saddled with that 2nd foul. So John Moore back on the floor, replacing him. So 2 of the Saints' most important and significant scorers, Alex Schumacher and DeMonte Malloy, now both with 2 fouls.
The only player on the bench that doesn't have 2 fouls is Velasquez. Saints don't have a deep bench tonight, especially with Alex Clinton in streetwear and Marky Adams. So they're gonna have to manage that foul trouble.
Well, Micah Pollard just lost that out of bounds, and in transition, the Saints unable to connect, but it's last touchdown by Central Washington. So we'll keep it at the Saints' end. Looks like the shot clock never got moving. It's sitting at 30 right now. Yeah. And now it's at 26. So we should be good to go here. 12-11 our score, 8:18 to play first half. Tyke Thompson takes the inbounds, turns on the defender, crosses over, now drives along the baseline. Tough off-balance shot beneath the basket. And Thompson took him a while to get there, but he's on the board. Missed his first 4 shots, but hits that one. And the Saints lead by 3, 14-11.
Yes, he's the key for me right now. With Schumacher with 2 fouls, he's probably not coming back in for the rest of the half. In my mind, Thompson has to be able to lead this offense.
Xavier Smith steps back for a long 2. It won't fall. Thompson steers it the other way, hesitates for a moment, accelerates, kicks to the corner. They find more wide open for 3. A little bit short with that. And back comes Central Washington. C.J. Hyder tries the baseline. Kicks up top for a 3 from Rose. That won't fall. Moore rips down the rebound for St. Martin's. Josh Camper, a transition 3. Air ball, but Marcus Linker with a weak side offensive rebound and the putback. And the Saints lead extends to 5 at 16-11. Marcus Linker logging some nice minutes for the Saints. A couple of offensive rebounds. Well, badly need other guys to step in right now.
Yeah, and he has a massive task down low trying to handle Rose, 6'9", 240. Definitely has a couple inches and pounds on Linker. That's a tough task for him, but he's done a good job so far.
Linker with another rebound. This one at the defensive end. Under 7 to play now here in the first half. Moore rolls off the Wang screen. Looks down low for Tyke Thompson. Wants to post up on Paquette. Spins off him. Fadeaway 15-footer along the baseline won't fall. And a long rebound batted around and eventually recovered by Central Washington. And Xavier Smith will set the offense for Central Washington. 16-11 our score.
Game of run so far. Saints struck first, then the Wildcats, now the Saints once again. And a freshman mistake right there from Josh Camper.
Yeah, the Cardinals saying never foul the jump shooter, so they say. Saints, by the way, had been playing in a man-to-man defense. Not exactly sure for how many possessions that had been going on, but it had been effective against Central Washington for the last few moments of this game. 16-11 our score, the Saints by 5 on the GNAC Digital Network.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
Well, we've talked about the Saints' offensive struggles and their shooting woes so far in this game. They are 7 for 20, 35%, and 2 for 11 from 3. It's actually worse for Central Washington. They are just 5 for 22 to start this game and 1 for 8 from 3, shooting 23% from the floor and just 12.5% from behind the three-point stripe. That's a big part of why we have not yet had the offensive showdown that we thought we were going to get when these two teams tipped things off about 20 minutes ago or so. As we return to action, it's C.J. Hyder at the line shooting 2 as he was fouled by Camper on the long pull-up cast just inside the three-point line.
That's the best way, Jeff, to get your offense back into rhythm, slow the game down, get to the free throw line, just knock down a couple shots there. That's the best way to kickstart. As that one circled all the way around the rim, I think at least once before it dropped in.
More pressure in backcourt from Central Washington. Ty Velasquez back on the floor for the Saints. He'll look to run the offense. And swing it around on the perimeter. Camper pops out to come get it. Now Wang in the high post. Starts his move, pulls up in the paint. Shot a little strong. Rebound gathered by Central Washington. Back they come the other way. Xavier Smith pulls it back. Dumps it off for Hyder. Into the high post now it's Paquette. Starts his drive with a lefty dribble. Spins back toward the middle of the lane. Left-handed cast about 5 feet from the basket. Good touch on that for Matt Paquette. And it draws Central Washington to within one.
Yeah, usually when a player gets down in the post and they bring that ball all the way around in front of them, in front of a defender, that's what leads to a turnover. Nice job able to get out of that and make a basket.
Velasquez with the pump fake. Gets his defender in the air. Frees himself. Goes high off the glass and banks home a tough shot. Ty Velasquez with a lovely move right there. Strong rebound from Tyke Thompson for the Saints. Exactly 5 minutes left in the first half. Thompson has it taken away and commits a silly foul coming back the other direction. Credit July O'Keefe with a defensive strip of the ball. Just ripped it clean out of Tyke Thompson's hands. And perhaps in frustration, Thompson reaches out and grabs him coming back up the floor. So Matt Paquette will head to the line for a 1-and-1.
Another thing to remember, Jeff, this is the second game in 24 hours. Saints don't have a deep bench. You can already tell starting to get a little bit winded. Legs are starting to give out even here in the first half. Saints going to need, I think, to slow this game down as much as they can and try and take advantage of that clock.
Coddington back on the floor for St. Martin's. Handled for the moment. Now it's Velasquez. Steps back, will fire from three. Gilson the rebound for Central. Xavier Smith looks to push. Commits the offensive foul. Pushed off on Goi Wang. That was pretty clear. Can't get that extra appendage extended. He'll get whistled for that 9 times out of 10, and it happens there. More pressure in backcourt. I'm a little surprised at this. It's because the Saints do have good ball handlers. When you have to play this small, it can, in fact, be almost playing into the hands of your opponent by pressuring them, because you're playing with effectively 5 guards on the floor. Those guys are going to want to run and try to just use some speed and acceleration to get around that pressure. But it's worked so far for Central Washington. St. Martin's has not responded with a lot of aggression getting out of that pressure. Saints turn it over at their end. And we'll get Marcus Linker back on the floor. Tyke Thompson takes a seat, and a very small lineup on the floor for St. Martin's.
I believe Goi is going to be the tallest player at about 6'5". 5 guards on the floor for sure right now.
Smaller lineup out there for Central Washington as well. Their tallest player handles here. That's Marcus Gilson. They look for him down low. Double team collapses on him. Velasquez nearly takes it away. However, Gilson able to recover, and he knocks it home. Draws Central Washington back within 1. Under 4 now here in the first half. Central has not yet come out of their man-to-man defense. Velasquez, a strong drive. Gets into the air and into the chest of Xavier Smith. Smith sends him sprawling beneath the basket. He's a little slow to get up. Let's hope he's all right. He will slowly get back to his feet. And both teams will make their way to the bench as we have reached a stoppage in play. It'll be Ty Velasquez at the free throw line for a pair of shots when we return.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
18 to 17 hour score. Thank you all so very much for joining us here tonight and really all season long. It's just such a – I mean, we're talking off air about, yes, it's tough when you – it's been crazy. I mean crazy for athletic administrations who have unpaused activities because remember, all the fall sports are also happening right now. So volleyball, soccer, even football in some cases for some local schools now back in session. Plus all the spring sports starting to get fired up as well. Baseball and softball back on the docket. So, yeah, it's not easy for sports information directors like yourself, Austin, but at the same time, it sure does beat the alternative of having no sports at all. We're just so happy, so appreciative of the fact that we get to do this again. It's just so wonderful to have sports back in some capacity anyway.
No, absolutely. When I woke up this morning and my calendar read, you got softball all day and then you go to a basketball game at night, I was like, well, life could be a lot worse, you know? I mean, so no, I'm just very happy to be back here, getting to watch the Saints play. It's a lot of fun, Jeff.
It's pretty good.
I've missed it a lot.
And I know our fans tuning in for the broadcast really appreciate it as well. Velasquez good on both free throws, 20 to 17 our score. They look down low for Gilson, can't get it to him. So a three on the way is good. Xavier Smith ties the game at 20. Wide open look at a three. And a much needed one for Central Washington. They had missed 7 of their first 8 3-point attempts. That one will fall. Coddington on the drive, kicks it back for Velasquez. And Xavier Smith gets a little handsy. That's his second foul, just the 4th foul of the first half on Central Washington. But I believe it will bring Xavier Smith back to the bench. We've got someone hastening over toward the scorer's table. And yes, Xavier Smith will now check out. He just hit that big 3 for Central to tie it, but must take a seat after picking up his second foul. So back on is Amari Stafford in his place. Saints with 20 seconds on the shot clock. And Velasquez will go to work. Operating opposite Gilson. Finds Coddington. Nice little hesitation move. Pulls up in the paint from 12. That won't fall. And David Thompson steers it the other way for Central Washington. Thinks about a pull-up 3. Now drives. Gets into the paint. Fadeaway 14-footer is good. David Thompson, if he starts flowing, look out. Saints held them scoreless last night, but you're not going to hold a good man down for very long. And David Thompson is certainly an awfully spectacular basketball player. Started his career at Santa Clara. John Moore whistled for the offensive foul. Did kind of lower the shoulder. It looked like Thompson may have kind of aided and abetted in that call, but nevertheless, it's going against John Moore, and that's his second foul. And that being the 9th foul on St. Martin's, the Wildcats will be in the double bonus for the rest of the frame.
Well, how about this, Jeff? Central Washington, you talked about they kind of had some troubles so far this year finding players in the flow. 6 assists on 9 made baskets so far.
That is a much better percentage than what they're used to. Officials timeout as David Thompson looks like he turned an ankle.
Yeah, got caught up with his teammate.
Yeah, let's hope he's
Hopefully
all
he
right.
can walk that off.
He's doing his darndest to do exactly that right now.
He's got a smile on his face. You know, he's definitely trying to do everything he can to stay in this game.
Looks like Central's going to check him out anyway. Probably for the best. He's definitely hobbling a lot, having to favor that ankle. Well, take a deep breath, Central fans. Let's all hope he's okay. Never want injuries to befall the best players on the floor, and he is certainly among them. Here on the near side, it's Colby Gannett looking down low for Paquette. Backs down Wang. Double team collapses on him. Maintains possession. Throws up a shot as the shot clock expires. Misses everything. And a stalwart defensive stand for the Saints.
Exactly what St. Martin's needed right there. Get that defense. Now you got an opportunity. I like the move right here to bring Tyke Thompson back into the game. You need a bucket or two, and you got to get the momentum going into halftime.
Number 3 Saints players now with 2 fouls apiece. Alex Schumacher, John Moore, and DeMonte Malloy. Coddington races into the paint. Off-balance shot won't fall. Switches right to left. Couldn't finish. Back the other way. Barreling directly into the cheese of Ty Velasquez. was Micah Pollard.
I don't know if the fans could see, but I think the most excited person was Schumacher. He jumped up off the bench and came running all the way over. He was pumped.
Yeah. Now Velasquez earned every bit of that charge. He might have been moving, but Pollard absolutely out of control on that and went directly into his chest. I mean, right into his grill. More pressure in backcourt. Saints able to break it. Central Washington drops back now into their traditional man-to-man. Wang handles over on the far side. Velasquez on the drive. Kicks back for Coddington. Thinks about a three. Now puts it on the deck. Foul on the floor. Whistled against Central Washington at their 6th. So ball out of bounds to the Saints with a fresh 20 on the shot clock. $1:28 to play here in the first half. Low scoring affair so far. Not at all what we expected. 22-20 our score. Central with a 2-point lead. Move things down toward the halftime break. Velasquez on the drive, gets all the way to the rack. Everything but the finish. He's wolfing behind Pollard. Central Washington able to maintain possession. Here's Pollard, gets his man in the air, and Thompson fouls him, and that's a tough one for the Saints. That's going to be foul number 2 on Tyke Thompson, and it will send Micah Pollard to the line. So now 4 Saints players with 2 fouls apiece.
Yeah, the Saints got everything they could have asked for in that last possession. I'd like to see them get more to the rim. 12 of their 27 shots have come from beyond the arc. You know, and usually when your legs are kind of tired in that second game of a doubleheader, you're kind of more inclined to jump shots. But that was the look the Saints needed. They just need to start converting on those types of plays.
1 of 2 at the line for Pollard. Exactly a minute to play here in the first half. Saints can go 2 for 1 here if they want. I'm a huge proponent of the 2 for 1. Velasquez steps back for 3. Bombs away! Ty Velasquez sizes it up, drills it from way outside. And it draws the Saints even at 23 apiece, and it sets up the Saints for that 2 for 1.
And what I say, Jeff, Saints need to shoot more from beyond the arc, I think is what I just said. What Ty Velasquez just went, I don't see any line on the court. I can hit from anywhere.
That was bonkers. It was right in front of us. We had the perfect angle to watch it all the way into the hoop. Central Washington with an empty trip. Saints look to run. It's Wang at the other end in transition. Thought with the shot clock off, the Saints would back out, but I love the attacking mentality as well. And Wang will head to the line with a chance to give the Saints the lead once again.
I love the way Goy Wang plays. Just 100% motor, flies around the court, does everything you can ask. Doesn't matter where you match him up, if it's in that zone up at the top or you play him out on the wing. Guard 1 through 5, really a great addition to the Saints. Yeah, I'm excited to watch him play for at least another 2 years in a Saints uniform.
Linker comes back onto the floor. Wise decision really to get Thompson out of the game for this final possession for the Wildcats, presumably their final possession.
Yeah, no need to pick up that 3rd foul.
Yep. So heads up coaching from Aaron Landon, as always. And Wang connects on both free throws. Saints with a 2-point lead. Shot clock off for the final 15 seconds here in the first half. Thompson back on the floor. That's a great sign for Central Washington. Walks the ball across the timeline. Guarded by Moore. Drives. Gets to the lane. Lays it up and in. Beautiful drive. Hesitation move from David Thompson. Saints with a chance. Goy gets off a shot from midcourt. But it's well short of the mark. And we are at intermission, my friends. 25-25 our score. If you like defense, you've come to the right spot. If you like great shooting, well, at least to this point anyway, you have not. But it's still been a great game nevertheless. And I'm looking forward to the final 20 minutes of this thing, the final Saints home game of 2021. We'll take an extended break here on the broadcast, but please rejoin us in about 12 minutes for the halftime show. A look at first half stats and a look ahead to second half action between the Saints and the Wildcats on the GNAC Digital Network. And welcome into the St. Martin's men's basketball halftime show. Jeff Lucero alongside Austin Burns. And Austin, this game did not go according to our plan anyway. I'm not quite sure what the coaches were planning, but certainly not the up and down, just torrid offensive affair that we were both expecting as Central Washington and St. Martin's. Neither of them has been a very effective and efficient defensive team so far this year, but really locking each other down here so far in this game. Neither team shooting it well at all. Saints shooting just 32% from the floor. Central Washington not any better, 33% from the floor. It's been a defensive lockdown, just cage match rather than that flat-out offensive assault we were expecting.
Yeah, it was a game of runs for me in that first half. St. Martin's took the first lead, and Central finds a way back. Saints do it again. Central Washington. I mean, they really just went back and forth.
Yep.
And going into the halftime, I don't think either team really had any kind of momentum. I think it's really, I know it's a tie on the scoreboard, but it really doesn't feel like either side has any, grip on the game right now. So I think this thing could go any way here in the first few minutes of the second half. I think the Saints are going to benefit a lot getting Alex Schumacher back onto the floor. Just you can put the ball in his hands late in a shot clock, and he can do some amazing things and bail you out from what he can turn a bad offensive possession into a good one very quick.
Well, and speaking of just about 9 different things that you just said, he had the game in his grip, to be sure, for a cold minute and 15 seconds. I looked at the numbers at halftime. At the 16:50 mark, Schumacher scored his first bucket of the game, and at the 15:38 mark, he got to points numbers 7, 8, and 9. So that's 9 points he scored in a minute and 12 seconds. Unfortunately for the Saints, he picked up his second foul and had to sit for just about the entire latter half of the first half.
Yeah, he's been the best offensive player. I mean, he's not just offense. He's been the best player for the Saints this whole season. And when you don't have that on the floor and you're struggling offensively, it's hard not to look over your shoulder a little bit, the Saints, and you look back towards your bench and go, there's probably the solution to our problems. He's sitting right there. We just can't bring him back on because, again, you can't have him pick up that third foul. So, Shu has to play very smart, though. He can't pick up that foul in the early minutes of the second half. Otherwise, he'll be right back on that bench. But for me, St. Martin's, this game right now, the tempo is favoring how they want to play. Central Washington wants to get out. They want to score a bunch. For the Saints, their defense, it's holding the Wildcats in check so far.
Despite not scoring since just under the 16-minute mark of the first half, Schumacher does continue to lead all scorers. He's got 9, 7 points as well for Ty Velasquez. So those two have combined for 16 of the 25 Saints points for Central Washington leading the way. It's Marcus Gilson with half a dozen. Gannett's got 5 as well. Balanced scoring for Central Washington. Unlike St. Martin's to this point, Tyke Thompson inbounds. He's one guy the Saints really have to get it going. He's just 1 for 7 to start this game. Despite being on the floor for 17 minutes in the first half, Tyke Thompson yet to really get it flowing at the offensive end. He handles here. Skip pass for John Moore. Sets him up for 3. That one bounds off the iron and into the hands of Marcus Gilson. An empty trip to start for the Saints here in the second half. Bounce pass into the hands of Matt Paquette. Reverses it. Back to C.J. Hyder.
Saints back in that zone defense to start as well.
Down in the short corner, it's Xavier Smith. Trickles out toward the elbow extended. Shot clock winding down. Long 3 forced to be thrown up, and it's a shot clock violation. So another staunch defensive effort from the Saints. So the offensive inconsistency continues, at least in the opening moments here of the second half. A little bit of pressure in backcourt, but Central Washington backs off into their man. Velasquez picks up his dribble. Moore thinks about another 3 now drive. Spins into the chest of the defender, steps past him. Beautiful effort from John Moore, just could not get the shot to fall. And back comes Xavier Lewis for Central Washington. Oh, my goodness, how in the world? That ball bounded 11 feet in the air. Lewis Pope's 3 somehow fell right back through the cylinder. I don't know that I've ever seen a shot go that high in the air and then come down through the basket. Goi Wang at the other end, just unlucky on the take. Saints missed their first 4 shots here of the second half.
Yeah, I think that's a great word for the Saints tonight, unlucky. They've had a lot of great looks. They just haven't been able to get any of those attempts to fall.
Xavier Smith walks into a 3. And spins toward the lane, won't fall. Marcus Gilson ripped to the floor by John Moore. So our first foul of the second half charged against the Saints. More importantly, though, that's the 3rd foul now on John Moore, and he'll give way to his former South Puget Sound teammate, DeMonte Malloy, back on the floor. He's got 2 fouls as well, keep in mind. Wide open look off the inbounds, but the 3 won't fall for Lewis Pope, and here comes the Saints. Schumacher hesitates for a moment, spins through the rim, lays it up and in, and Schumacher in double figures. What a play. You know, it was interesting there. The defender didn't come out at him. I think he was expecting him to, and just sort of naturally went into a blow-by type of a move, but the defender stayed home, and Schumacher still able to finish. Just pure athleticism from Alex Schumacher.
Oh, and there you go for the Saints, able to just put the ball in Schu's hands and let him make decisions, and he's so gifted being able to hang up in the air, and he can get around defenders.
I don't know how Marcus Gilson was not called for a travel, because he clearly did. Tyke Thompson, good defense, beautiful outlet pass into the hands of Schumacher. He works it all the way to the rack again, and Schumacher now with 4 points. Are we going to see another explosion in the earlier stages of a half again? Remember, Schumacher with 9 points in 1 minute and 12 seconds in the first half. He's got 4 points in the game's last 30 seconds.
And that's costly right there. That's the 3rd foul on Schu, and I think Landon, and he's going to have to bring Coddington off the bench. And that's letting some air out of the tires right there.
Well, Schumacher's scoring explosion comes to an end because he's got to take a seat with that 3rd foul. And you're right, Austin. That's a devastating, just crippling blow for the Saints. So John Moore and Alex Schumacher both earned their 3rd fouls. Just 3 minutes gone by here in the second half. That bounce pass gets kicked out of bounds by the Saints, so the shot clock back to 20. Xavier Smith to trigger the inbound for Central Washington. Thompson races out to get it. Looks like he's back to full strength, a good sign for Central Washington. Into the high post for Paquette. Starts to back down on Thompson. Pulls up, lefty floater won't fall. An offensive rebound for Thompson, gets it to the rack. His putback won't go. But he bothers Thompson over the back, and the ball last touched by Tyke Thompson, so we'll keep it at the Central Washington side of the floor.
The Saints need to do a better job boxing out.
Did they force a turnover here? They did not. Wasn't quite sure who that one last touched. Referee points in the direction of the Wildcats, so we'll keep it at their end.
Yeah, Wildcats getting too many. I think you're on chance number 4 on this offensive possession. They're just too good of an offensive team. They're going to connect.
Lewis Pope looking inside for Paquette. Nothing doing. Reverses instead for Smith. Now it's Thompson on the drive. Has some space and takes full advantage. David Thompson just sort of wriggles his way into the paint and floats home a 6-footer. And Central gets the lead back. Velasquez at the other end says not so fast. Gives it right back to St. Martin's. The second 3 of the contest for Velasquez. Absolutely stepped into it and drilled it. Good looking release from Ty Velasquez.
Boy, he was such a scoring weapon for the Saints to begin the year. And that one will stay with the Wildcats. He was averaging about 13 points a game in the first few contests.
Good defensive effort from first Tyke Thompson and then Goi Wang. It will be Central Washington basketball once we return. 15:57 left in our contest, and the Saints with a 2-point lead.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
32-30 our score. 15:57 left in the Saints' final home game of 2021. Once again, I just want to express all of my appreciation and gratitude to everyone in the St. Martin's Athletic Department. And really, how about the athletic department over in Ellensburg as well? Central Washington doing everything that they have to do to clear all of the necessary protocols that allow these games to even happen. It's just so good for these athletes to have the opportunity to compete while they earn their degrees at some quality institutions like Central Washington and St. Martin's. Just so happy to have sports back. And that these student athletes can have the opportunity to showcase their skills, both academically and athletically, of course. Empty trip for Central Washington. Thompson here in the near side corner. Reverse it back to Velasquez. He'll set the offense between the circles. Wang comes out to set the high screen. Velasquez hesitates for a moment. Tries to get past Thompson. Thompson strips the ball, but just knocks it out of bounds. It'll stay with St. Martin's. 13 on the shot clock. Thompson comes over to relieve Velasquez. He'll trigger the inbound. Back on the floor for Central Washington are Colby Gannett and Micah Pollard. Saints with possession and a 2-point lead.
I think this is the player right here for the Saints who needs to get going offensively.
Well, he's going to give it a shot. He's fouled on the floor, wave off the basket. DeMonte Malloy just abusing Gannett on his way to the basket. And Gannett does earn that foul. That's his second. That's just the first on Central Washington here in the second frame. Coddington back on the floor for St. Martin's. There's a pass over the top of the defense into the hands of Tyke Thompson. Now it's Malloy. Starts his drive. Spins around the defender. Righty finish. Just won't fall. Coddington the offensive rebound. The putback will. Seth Coddington among the trees. Muscles a shot up and in, and the Saints now with a 4-point lead.
Yeah, in my opinion, that should have been an and one as well, but what a play for Coddington. Exactly what the Saints needed. Now they got some energy back on their bench.
Central Washington with a ragged possession. Micah Pollard having all kinds of trouble, then could not connect with Marcus Gilson along the baseline. So a turnover. Central Washington will pick up pressure in backcourt. DeMonte Malloy races back down the floor. He'll inbound into the hands of Coddington. Finds Malloy. He'll clear the timeline. Goy comes to get it. Now Thompson faces up. Needs help. Coddington comes to provide it. Velasquez bluffs it a three, now drives. Gets all the way to the rack, switches right to left midair, lays it up and in, and the Saints lead by half a dozen on the beautiful move to the rim by Ty Velasquez.
Velasquez right now shouldering the offense with Schumacher on the bench. And the Saints, you can feel this momentum changing.
Oh, tough outlet pass. Just a little bit too short. Wang was racing the floor. That could have been a huge game changer. Instead, at the other end, Micah Pollard with a chance to draw Central Washington back within 4. He's fouled on his way to the rim. And that's the third foul now on Malloy. So the foul's really starting to pile up for the Saints. Schumacher sits on the bench with 3, as does John Moore. Now Malloy with 3. Thompson's got 2.
Yeah, even though Thompson has been scoring, he's been the best rebounder for the Saints, but he's just too good of an offensive weapon to only have 2 points.
Yep.
He's going to have to start getting a few baskets. They don't have to be three-pointers. I know that's kind of the shot he usually likes to take, but he needs to get down low, I think, find some more baskets that way at the rim.
Micah Pollard, good on both free throws. More pressure in backcourt once again from Central Washington. DeMonte Malloy, hardly your traditional point guard, will bring it up the floor. John Moore back on the floor for the Saints, by the way. Coddington surveys. Now Thompson for 3. Got it! Tyke Thompson buries the 3. Oh, my goodness. You know that one's got to feel good. He has struggled at the offensive end, just 1 for 7 prior to that, and he's had misfired on his 3 three-point attempts before. He nails that cast, and it gives the Saints a 7-point lead. And a momentum timeout called by Aaron Landon. I believe that was called by Landon.
Yes, it was. Yep. And I couldn't have called that any better, Jeff. Just what I said. Thompson light up from 3. I mean, I'm really just announcer's curse, but I'm glad that one worked out the way it did, though.
Just a huge shot. And the Saints now with a 7-point lead. Things starting to kind of move in the Saints' direction here. They're up now to 40% shooting from the floor. 5 for 16 from 3. Ty Velasquez kind of quietly putting together a really nice night. He's 4 for 7 from the floor and 2 for 4 from deep. He's got a dozen points. I tell you what, whenever Aaron Landon decides to point a finger back in the direction of Alex Schumacher and signal him back onto the floor, it's going to be could be a long night the rest of the way for Central Washington, the way that the Saints now are really starting to feel it at the offensive end.
Well, I was just about to say, too, is, being able to knock down those kind of shots, it buys you more time until you want to bring in Schumacher. For me, you want to get to about that 10-minute mark to bring him back in. So, if the Saints can continue to hold this lead, it allows them to play a little more conservative with Schumacher, and then you can let him loose in the final 10.
Looks like the Saints will come out in a man-to-man defense. Well, no. Now they are showing more of a zone look here. 2-3 zone. Tyke Thompson down in the middle of it beneath the Wildcats basket. They look down low for Paquette. Dribbles out of the double team and hands it off to Xavier Smith. 10 on the shot clock as Smith goes to work. Finds the cutter along the baseline. It's Gannett. Hesitates. The pump fake got the defender in the air, but it couldn't finish. Back comes Velasquez the other way, racing toward the rack. Tough angled shot won't fall. And Paquette the rebound on the weak side for Central Washington. Thompson bounces a pass in the direction of Micah Pollard. Down it comes into the corner for Smith. He'll try for 3 and knock it down. Xavier Smith. That's a much-needed shot for Central Washington. They have really struggled from the floor. Just 3 of 13 from 3 before that made basket. That brings him back over 30% shooting from the floor. Velasquez will take a seat for St. Martin's. And back comes Alex Schumacher on the dead ball.
Yeah, I think that was the right move. You don't want Central Washington, another basket. All of a sudden the momentum starts turning, but there's Coddington. Wow.
What an explosive move from Seth Coddington. Central Washington defenders all just standing around watching him go. Coddington just blazes his way into the paint. At the other end, that shot won't fall for Xavier Smith at point-blank range. And DeMonte Malloy hauls down the glass for St. Martin's. Here's Malloy on the drive. Hesitate for the moment. Finger roll at the rack, and he lays it up and in. Saints with their biggest lead of the game at 43-35. Back-to-back layups. Just attacks of the rim. First by Coddington, then by DeMonte Malloy.
Well, Malloy saw his defender kind of trip up a little bit. Didn't hesitate a second, went right by him.
Mid-range jump shot will fall for David Thompson. More the other way. Nearly tried to jump over the top of David Thompson as he made the pass to the corner. Tough news for the Saints on that play, as that is John Moore's 4th foul of the game. It will bring us to a stoppage in play. We're just under 12 minutes to play. Saints with a 6-point lead on the GNAC Digital Network.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
Well, the offense is starting to click at both ends. Our score now 43-37, according to the scoreboard. 43-38, according to the stats. I believe it's 43-37, if I'm not mistaken. Seth Thompson's last basket might have been credited as a 3 when it was a long 2. There on the live stats on the stream. We'll call it a 6-point game for the moment. Thompson, a no-look pass down low. Wow. That'll do. Brandon Renta drew up a nice play right there. Sets up the cutter along the baseline, Marcus Gilson. Thompson finds him. Gilson does the rest. 4-point lead for St. Martin's. Malloy will try a 3. Got it, DeMonte Malloy! Really starting to flow at the offensive end. Had that beautiful drive a couple of moments ago. Now he spots up for 3 and buries it. Bounce it inside into the soft spot of that zone. Xavier Smith probably had another half tick left on the clock before he would have gotten whistled for a 3-second violation. Gets the shot off, converts, but then a tough foul 85 feet from the Saints basket whistled against Micah Pollard. That's only the second foul on Central Washington. A lot of foul trouble for the Wildcats. Xavier Smith has 3, but nobody else on the squad has more than 2. Coddington sizes up Thompson. Now Wang handles. Into the corner it goes to Schumacher. Saints a little tentative on offense, but only for a moment because Schumacher gets to the rack, lays it in, and will head to the line after drawing the foul. My goodness, the Saints with the rope-a-dope offense. They were just lulling Central Washington to sleep, and then Schumacher just blows his way into the lane with the strong finish, and he draws the foul.
Yeah, basically a QB read in football. Schumacher's going to read the defense, pulls that handle back at the last second, and just whips right around the corner. Great job by Schumacher to read what the Wildcats were throwing at him.
My goodness. You know, it's one thing to watch Alex Schumacher play on a computer screen. It's another thing to watch him in person. That's part of why I really wish our fans, and really Central's fans, could be here, because when you get to watch this kind of talent in person, it just feels a little bit different than watching it on a TV screen. And, man, he's such a good athlete. I just cannot wait to see what the future holds for Alex Schumacher and the rest of his St. Martin's career.
Yeah, and he's the kind of player that really can feed off a crowd, too.
Converts on the and 1, so the Saints back to that 8-point advantage. Gilson tries the lane with a strong move along the baseline. That was a heck of a conversion from Marcus Gilson, who's really played well tonight for this Central squad. He's an awfully good player, and it's been on display here this evening. Wang in the high post, gives it off to Thompson. Plenty of time on the shot clock as Malloy starts his drive. Schumacher had the heel of a sneaker on the sideline, so the turnover gives it back to Central as we are just about to the halfway point of the second half. $10 left in this game. Thompson rolls off the screen. Malloy switches to help on him. Good defense from Malloy on Thompson, but Thompson with a beautiful handoff to Gilson, and Gilson with the finish beneath the basket. And Central quickly cuts the lead in half. It's back to 4. Coddington in trouble in the lane. Needs help. Finds Malloy. Now Malloy needs help. Tough angled shot won't fall. And momentum swinging right back to Central Washington.
Yeah, I got to give the ball to Gilson once again, but there you go. How about that move instead?
Well, David Thompson is a Division I talent, and you saw it on the blow-by right there. Just when it felt like St. Martin's was starting to gain some kind of control in this game, Central Washington rips off 7 unanswered. Well, 6 unanswered so far, but opportunity for 7 here if Thompson can convert on the and 1. Man, that was a don't blink sequence for Central Washington. They trailed by 8 just moments ago, and just like that, and a no-look pass in transition from the Saints turns it over. Thompson on the run out. It's got numbers. Gilson mishandles the pass, but able to recover, and he kicks to the corner. Xavier Smith on the drive. Gets to the rack, lays it in, and we're tied. In fact, making a 1-point lead for Central Washington. They've scored 9 points in about a minute's worth of time. My goodness, are things heating up here. It was 25 all at halftime, and here it is 50-49 with just better than 9 minutes left in our game. Wow. What a game this has has been a defensive performance to get things rolling for the game's first 20 minutes, and now the offense really hitting its stride. Come back, fans. The last 9:08 ought to be a dandy one, to be sure. 50-49, Central Washington with a 1-point lead.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
Well, David Thompson had a very quiet first half. Didn't do much at all. Came off the bench in that first half. Didn't get the start tonight either. But now in the second half, he is really starting to run the show here for Central Washington, either scoring himself or setting teammates up with some beautiful passes. David Thompson really starting to show exactly why he was a D1 talent to begin his college career at Santa Clara. What a special player he is.
Well, yeah, and it's not just he's now getting going on the offensive end, but he has 5 assists, 3 steals, 3 rebounds. I mean, the guy's just doing everything for the Wildcats.
Seth Coddington, and there's another steal for David Thompson. Give him 4 steals now. Gilson thinks about a 3. Instead, Central Washington will reload the offense. Thompson with a wide open look. That misses everything, but right in the right spot is Gannett. He knocks it home. And the run continues for Central Washington. It's 11-0. The last 11 points of this game scored by the Wildcats after the Saints had staked themselves to that 8-point lead. Schumacher steps into a 3. That one's short. Another rebound for Amari Stafford. No numbers at all, but he'll pull up for 3. Not really sure why DeMonte Malloy decided to save that inbounds. It just would have been Saints basketball. Nevertheless, Saints with possession. Saints need to find it once again at the offensive end. Kind of shell-shocked here. This Central Washington run has put them on their heels. Coddington hands it off for Schumacher. Pulls up for 3. That one's short again. So maybe some tired legs starting to show for the Saints a little bit. However, Schumacher is sat for a lot of this game, so he should be fresh down the stretch.
Well, I think also for the Saints, they just need 2 or 3 stops defensively, and I think that will really help them out. But they're beautiful, beautiful pass. Oh, my goodness.
It's Gannett once again finding the crease along the baseline. Back-to-back buckets for him, and the run continues. 13 unanswered points for Central Washington. At least for the moment, they are firmly in control. 5-point lead. Wang rolls off the screen, drifts to the corner. Picks up his dribble, looks down low for Coddington. He posts up on Thompson. Short arms a shot, gets the rebound, gets the defender in the air and banks it home. Seth Coddington just stays composed, stays cool and calm beneath the basket. And that a huge bucket for the Saints, one they badly needed. And Brandon Renta will call for a timeout. It was an interesting decision, as Marcus Gilson appeared to have good position down low, but Renta just didn't like what he saw from that offensive set for the Wildcats. It's a timeout taken by Central Washington. We'll take it with them. Wildcats lead at 54-51 with 6:46 to play on the GNAC Digital Network.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
Well, at the 11:05 mark, the Saints had an 8-point lead, but then Central Washington, over the span of the next 3.5 minutes, went on a 13-0 run. Seth Coddington's layup just a couple of moments ago pulled the Saints back within 3, but what a big burst that was from Central Washington. They scored 13 points in about 2 minutes of game time. So you can see just how offensively efficient this team can be. We saw that a moment ago when Central Washington just ripped off that run. They now lead by 3 with possession of the basketball. Pollard looks inside. Into the high post it goes for Paquette. Tries to kick to the corner, but Tyke Thompson quicker to the ball. Able to knock it into the hands of Wang. He races out for the Saints, but Central Washington gets back on D. Velasquez looks down low for Malloy. Spins past the defender. Gets right to the rack. DeMonte Malloy once again abusing Gannett down in the post. Man, oh man, we've seen that a couple of times here tonight. I love it when DeMonte Malloy gets off in the low block.
Yeah, the Saints are going with a 5 out. They allow Malloy to cut in down low. That means a guaranteed one-on-one down low, and he's going to win that battle more times than not.
Stafford had all day to size up that 3. Could not knock it down, and at this end, it's typed at the top of the key. His 3 won't fall, but Velasquez tracks back and picks up the long rebound, and the Saints will reload the offense. Velasquez skips off the screen, steps back now through the defender. Moore back on the floor with those 4 fouls. Thompson will try again for 3. That one's short again.
I think the Saints right now, they're settling for that three-point shot too much. I think they need to work a little bit harder, try and get that ball inside.
Well, they've been at their best when they have attacked the rack here in the second half. And they force a turnover here. More of a mental mistake for Central Washington than anything. The extra step taken before that first dribble went down onto the floor. Saints will bring Schumacher back to the floor. So a good offensive lineup on the floor if you're a Saints fan.
Yeah, I think this has been their best lineup tonight for sure.
John Moore nearly loses it, able to recover. Now Thompson bounces it off for Schumacher. Gets it back on the drive. No look pass sets up Velasquez. The look off won't quite work that time. Gilson races out. Xavier Smith with it, pinned down along the baseline. Thompson gets to the rack and takes the bounce pass and finishes. David Thompson playing really, really stalwart basketball here in the second half. Man, he's looked good.
Yeah, he's the key reason the Wildcats are winning this ball game right now, in my opinion.
And remember, he went down with an ankle injury, so we weren't quite sure how that was going to affect his game. The answer is not, even in the slightest regard. Schumacher spins out of trouble, finds Moore. Moore on the strong drive. Can't finish. Rebound Gannett for Central Washington. Lewis Pope steps into a 3. Leaves that short. Rebound Velasquez. So now all of a sudden shots not falling at either end. And the Saints will slow things down for the moment. Schumacher drifts all the way back out to midcourt. Coy comes out to set the screen. Schumacher spins to his right, gets to the rack, lays it in. Alex Schumacher doing it himself. When in doubt, put the ball in the hands of your best player and let him go to work. And Schumacher finishes the beautiful drive right at the rim. Gannett can't finish point blank. Man, oh man. Saints need to hem things up along the baseline. Too many open looks for Central Washington, as guys just continue to dive in along the baseline. And Central Washington finds the cutters more often than not. They've been able to finish. But a couple of times they've been right there at the rim and have missed those bunnies, as they call them. Timeout on the floor. Saints basketball out of bounds once we return. It's buckle in for the final 3:32 on the other side of this break.
Opportunity to me means doing the things that will make you a better future. I always dreamed of graduating from college. So being the first one in my family to graduate, it meant everything my parents sacrificed was paying off. Having an athletic scholarship for the University of Mount Olive was key for my success. that I had the opportunity to not only get an education, but be able to develop as an individual.
Well, Austin, just as the offensive intensity has picked up here in the second half, so has the chat on our YouTube channel. We've received a lot of pretty hilarious comments. It's great to see some fans interacting with us through that chat feature. That's brand new to us this year here as we have made the move over to YouTube for all of the Saints broadcasts. So I want to thank all the fans that are hanging in there with us on the chat. Good to see the COD squad in the house as well tonight. Let's see what head coach Aaron Landon drew up during that timeout for this Saints offense. It's a big possession for them. Malloy on the drive, gets to the rack, won't fall, but he'll head to the line. Tough angle for DeMonte, but he is able to draw some contact, and he can give the Saints back the lead if he's able to knock down both of these free throws.
I love what head coach Aaron Landon drew up there. Use double screen, get DeMonte with a head of steam going towards the basket. Worst case scenario, it's going to be a free throw opportunity.
Malloy short arms the first free throw, so the best he can do is tie the game. This one might be headed to overtime. We'll see how things shake out, obviously, and there's a ton of time left. I don't want this game to end, to be honest with you. I want this thing to go triple overtime, Austin. I'm not calling triple overtime right now. I'm just saying I don't want this game to end. I want to keep calling this game like into the night. This is just too much fun watching these two teams go at it here in the second half. Schumacher with the steal, jumps the passing lane, gets to the rack, lays it in, and the Saints get back the lead at 57-56 on the brilliant defensive play and transition layup from Alex Schumacher. Give him 20 on the night.
Saints had 16 steals last night. There's one, none bigger. Alex Schumacher just doing it all.
And Marcus Gilson goes to work along the baseline, gets all the way to the rack. Strong take, little resistance. Schumacher again to the rack. Short arms it. Gilson the rebound. Long pass ahead for Smith. Finds Thompson diving to the rim. He'll lay it up and in. 3-point lead for Central Washington. Look at Thompson race back down the floor after hitting the deck, after knocking down that shot.
That was just beautiful transition basketball for the Wildcats.
That's a great pass from Gilson to set things up. Here's Thompson down in the low blocks. Double team comes. Look at the look off from Wang. Fires from three. Just does lip out. But it'll stay with the Saints with 2 minutes and 8 seconds showing on the clock.
How many shots have Saints had tonight where it looks good out of their hands? Makes about halfway down the rim, it feels like, and just flies out.
Well, we said it earlier that the theme of the night for the Saints was unlucky.
Yeah.
That one was just unlucky as well. Wanted that shot for Wang. He did a nice job of looking off the defender with the ball fake. Good looking release. It was halfway down and popped out yet again for the Saints. Schumacher on the hesitation. Kicks back for Velasquez. He'll fire from deep. Ty Velasquez ties the game at the 2-minute mark with a devastating three. My goodness, Schumacher on the drive finds his teammate Velasquez, and Velasquez crushes the three ball.
That was a good 5 feet from beyond the arc.
David Thompson along the soft spot of the zone defense again. Finds some space and finishes, and Central Washington with the lead right back. What a game. Schumacher handles. Fadeaway along the baseline. Just won't fall. And Thompson the rebound.
It's a tough shot
for Central Washington.
Tough shot for the sophomore. And now the Saints once again allowing that inside pass.
Yeah, Gilson kind of alone. And the Saints just not tracking back on defense there. And Tyke Thompson for St. Martin's earns the foul. That's his third. That was the 6th foul on St. Martin, so Central will be in the bonus going forward. This is a 2-shot foul, however, for Marcus Gilson. Sizes up the first and knocks it down. Coddington back to the floor for St. Martin's, and Goy Wang will step away. So the 5 on the floor for St. Martin's. Let's set it for you. DeMonte Malloy, Seth Coddington, Ty Velasquez, Alex Schumacher, and Tyke Thompson.
Yeah, I think the reason the Saints brought Coddington back on the floor for him to be ball handler so Shu can be that off ball and get him, more of that ball when he's going towards the rim.
Central Washington will counter by bringing Amari Stafford back to the floor. 4-point lead, so a 2-possession game. Schumacher on the drive, gets past everyone, gets right to the rack and lays it up with a left-handed finish. And cuts the lead in half at 64-62 as we hit the 1-minute mark of this game.
Yeah, right now, I'm going to call it Schumacher with a steal. He's locked in defensively right now.
Well, he sizes up Xavier Smith here. Shot clock halfway down. Central Washington in a 1-4 flattened out set. Now they pop to a horn set. Xavier crosses over, gets into the paint, nearly travels. Back to Thompson with 1 second on the shot clock. It lips out. Rebound, Seth Coddington. He's tripped up, and a foul will be called. It'll be a foul on the floor, and it will be Saints ball out of bounds, as that was the 6th foul on Central Washington. So no more non-shooting fouls the rest of the way. And we've got a timeout on the floor. 29 seconds left in this ball game. 28 seconds showing on the shot clock for the Saints. They will have possession. They will inbound when we return.
Every time a student learns something new, makes a discovery, or helps a team, it's not just good for that student, it's good for the whole community. At St. Martin's University, we know the impact a well-prepared graduate can have on the world. That's why last year, we extended more than $15 million in scholarships to our students. Because the more we invest in them, the brighter the future becomes for all of us.
I don't think it's any great secret. I don't think I'm revealing anything that a lot of folks, or at least fans of these two programs, don't already know when I tell you that Alex Schumacher is the Saints' best player and that David Thompson is the very same for Central Washington. And Austin, look at the second half play of this game, and it clears up any doubt for either player. Alex Schumacher now with a team-high 22 points to go along with 3 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 assists for the Saints. Look at David Thompson roaring to life for Central Washington. He's got 17 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals as well. These two players putting it all on display here in the game's final 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're seeing 2 of the best in the conference for sure. It's going to be fun to watch them next year. But right now for the Saints, I think you got to get the ball in the hands of Schumacher.
Thompson sends the inbounds into backcourt. Coddington retreats to get it. Shot clock about a second behind the game clock, so it remains on despite the fact we're down to 20 seconds. Velasquez gets free for 3. It won't fall. Leaves it short. Rebounds Xavier Smith, and he's fouled in backcourt. Well, Ty Velasquez had a wide open look at that 3. Would have given the Saints a 1-point lead, but he left it a little bit short.
Yeah, it was a good look, exactly what the Saints had drawn up. But now, I mean, even if Velasquez would have hit that 3, the Wildcats would have had plenty of time to be able to come down the court.
These are the first free throws of the night for Xavier Smith. It's a 1-and-1. And he cannot earn the bonus. Saints still alive. 64-62. 10 seconds to play. Here comes Coddington. Finds Tyke Thompson. 5 seconds on the clock. Velasquez has got to go. Velasquez all the way to the rack, lays it up, and it won't fall at the buzzer. Ty Velasquez got all the way to the rim, laid it up, and it just fell off the side of the tin. And the horn expires, and that is the way this ball game will finish. Oh, my goodness.
Unlucky. There
Unlucky.
It is. Unlucky.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe that's the way this game ends. It's such a tough break for Ty Velasquez and the Saints team, but, man, what a ball game it was. Fans, if you would, please give us just a second to catch our breath. We'll have a fun little halftime show for you on the other side of this break. Central Washington takes it. The final score, 64-62. (64-62) our final score here tonight. Saints won last night over in Ellensburg, and the script is officially flipped here in Lacey tonight as Central Washington ekes out a 2-point win. Ty Velasquez on the drive. The play that they had drawn up, whatever it was, had broken down. Velasquez able to get all the way to the rack. I think might have been anticipating a little bit of contact once he got there. You saw when he turned around, he definitely said, "Where's the foul call?" He kind of had his hands out like he was just expecting that the whistle was going to blow. He had a real good look at it, but the shot falls just short, and in the process, the Saints fall just short tonight. What a great game this was, though. Tied at 25 at halftime. We wind up at 64-62. It was a hotly contested game, wire to wire. This was not the most efficiently played game. I don't think anyone would ever say that these teams played their best basketball tonight, but certainly they saved their best for last. The offensive firepower really ticked up by probably an order of magnitude or two here in the second half, as both teams do wind up shooting over 40% when both of them were really languishing on the floor. Neither were shooting over 30% for much of this game. But in the end, Central Washington earns the victory. It was David Thompson really putting this team on his back. He earned his stripes tonight, 17 points for the senior transfer from Santa Clara on 8 of 15 shooting. Missed all 3 of his threes, but also chipped in with 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals. If we were handing out an MVP for this game, it would likely go to that young man right there, David Thompson, with an absolutely sparkling performance, especially in the second half. Let's talk about Central Washington and what they did to earn this victory tonight, Austin.
Yeah, it was they hung around. They used that defense. They limited the Saints' opportunities, and then they let their playmakers take over in the second half, and they had some great transitional plays. You know, again, Thompson, you couldn't really stop him half the time. He was connecting on a lot, and they knocked down the clutch baskets, and they definitely got lucky a bit tonight as well. As we said, the Saints were unlucky, the Wildcats were lucky, and so there were a couple shots that, you know, tipped the way of the Wildcats, and for the Saints, just couldn't get it done at the very end. But, you know, hat off to both teams. What an effort both sides put together. What a weekend series for these two. I mean, went down to the wire in Ellensburg, down to the wire here in Lacey. I mean, exciting basketball, that's for sure.
Well, I had a chance to talk very shortly, very briefly with head coach Brandon Renta on my way in here tonight, and he was talking about how really more than anything the key is for them is just to kind of just get to know each other on the floor this year. They've only got 5 games scheduled. This was the 4th of 5 games for the Wildcats this season. He also told me that he expects pretty much every single one of these guys to continue to be back next year. So no matter what their academic standing is right now, he told me that he expects basically this entire roster to be right back and in place for next season. So this is almost like spring training for the Central Washington team, and you saw them really start to congeal tonight. They did earn their first victory. They had dropped their first 3, but a lot of huge probably areas of improvement for Central Washington. Remember, they only had 27 assists on 85 made baskets coming into tonight's game. They had 16 assists on 26 made baskets tonight. So they did a much better job of connecting with one another on the floor. A big beneficiary of that was Marcus Gilson. He had a tremendous game for Central Washington. Finishes with 16 points on 7 of 10 shooting. Also had 6 rebounds in 29 minutes of action. Only other player in double figures for the Wildcats was Xavier Smith. He finishes with 10 points, but also had a team-high 7 rebounds and a team-high 6 assists on the game. 9 points as well for Colby Gannett. A few other players chipped in, but Overall, Central Washington winds up shooting 42% from the floor, just 21% from behind the arc, and 67% at the foul line, rebounding nearly dead even, 38-37, so Central Washington +1 in that category. For the Saints, 22 points for Alex Schumacher, 10 of 16 shooting. Remember, he had some foul trouble, so he only got to play 24 minutes tonight, but made the most of them, scoring 22 points when he was out there. 3 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 assists as well for Alex Schumacher. The only other Saints player in double figures was Ty Velasquez. He finishes the night with 15 points, 5 of 12 shooting, 5 rebounds for him as well. Balanced scoring behind them, Malloy finishes with 7. Coddington has 6, 5 points apiece for Tyke Thompson. And then 3 points for Josh Camper. Saints shoot 40% from the floor, 29% from deep, 71% at the foul line. Just 6 assists, however, on 25 made baskets. So St. Martin's maybe got caught up a little bit too much in a little bit of one-on-one basketball this evening. Not sure that's what decided the outcome of this game. But when you've only got 6 assists on 25 makes, it kind of tells you that your offense just isn't flowing the way that you need it to in order to get the win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There were a couple possessions where obviously you're just going to hand the ball to Shu and let him go to work, so you're not going to pick assists up on those kind of baskets. But, you know, again, for me, I thought the Saints got a lot of great looks tonight. They just didn't go their way. I mean, I know I've said it a couple times, but they were unlucky. And a lot of those shots fall half the time. I think Aaron Landon's going to be very happy with the defensive effort that his guys gave tonight. They really did lock down one of the best offensive teams, in my opinion. You know, so it's one of those where, yes, you wanted this game more than anything, but at the same time, you really did play a good ball game. Obviously, the offense was a little bit it was sluggish at times, no doubt about it, but you know, defensively, they're right where he wants them to be. I think they're just a piece or two away from getting another. You imagine the floor with 2, maybe 3 Alex Schumachers. It's reminiscent a little bit of what that team was a couple years ago when they made a deep run. I mean, so you get a couple more weapons on the floor. I think this squad really has the potential to make a run not only at the GNAC, but make a run towards that NCAA tournament as well.
Well, you talk about missing a piece or two. One big piece that the Saints obviously missed, Marky Adams, having to be without him for the last 2.5 games now. It's very discouraging for the Saints, of course, for Markey as well. We definitely hope that for a speedy recovery for Markey, but you got to give the Saints credit too, because they have to play small. They don't have any other true post players on this team at all. Markey is their post player, period. And so when you're compensating for the lack of your interior post presence, your rim protector, Markey's a great shot blocker. You're having to kind of scramble a little bit and really make things up really on the fly, adjust your whole offensive strategy without Markey on the floor. So really, I think Aaron Landon's doing a Herculean job of getting this team to figure out different ways to continue to play and attack at the offensive end without Markey out there.
Yeah, you're having to play players out of position. You know, Tyke Thompson's doing a lot of work down low that takes him away from what his natural game is on the offensive end. You're also DeMonte Malloy. I mean, it's really nice that he can play 1 through 5. I think he's better served kind of as that 3 role, maybe an undersized 4, but there's times where he's on the floor as the 5. And you know, the Saints are stepping up. You know, you don't hear anyone ever complain. They want to win. That's not an excuse. They will not use that as an excuse at all. But it is the reality of this team. When you only have 8 players ready to go on a night and you start picking up some foul trouble, you have to play players in different positions. But everybody picks up, you know, the piece, and the Saints did put together a good performance here tonight. And, you know, I think in the near future, games like this will start going the Saints' way.
With the loss, the Saints' record now sits at 2-9 overall. They've got 1 game left. It's next Saturday afternoon up in Seattle at Royal Braun Pavilion against Seattle Pacific. Earlier this season, those 2 teams tangled a few times. Remember that Seattle Pacific came into Lacey, and Seattle Pacific wound up winning both of those. Those were very hard-fought games, those 2 opening games to begin things here at home. And then the 3rd game was played up at Seattle Pacific, with the Saints coming away with an 80-66 victory. The next night, things got canceled against Seattle Pacific, so this is a makeup game from the snow event that happened earlier this month, a couple of weeks ago. So the Saints, a tough loss. They got to kind of put this one. They got plenty of time to prep and game plan for Seattle Pacific next Saturday afternoon. I expect Aaron Lane to just pull out the stops. He and the staff are going to get together, come up with a game plan where they just kind of just go out, flat out, fly around the floor and just get after it for 40 minutes and just leave everything out there. What do you think?
Yeah, you're going to tell the guys, look, you got one more game on the schedule. You don't want to leave anything, you want to have basically burn the whole tank in this one game. And Seattle Pacific, they're going to be hungry. It is a tough race into the NCAA tournament this year with the addition of the RMAC. A loss at home for Seattle Pacific by 14. That does not look good on the resume. So they're hungry. They want to get out and try and get a W. Again, for the Saints, I'm just looking at Alex Schumacher. Right now, no one has really been able to stop him. Seattle Pacific has some of the best defenders. Cavill comes to mind immediately. There's definitely going to be some double teams on Schumacher next week.
We're also keeping an eye on the women's game going on up in Bellingham, and it looks like Western Washington is going to come away with a victory up there. They've got a 9-point lead on the Saints with just a few seconds left in that game. Claire Dingus, a team-high 18 points. Ryan Clear right there with her. They both have 18 points in that contest. Dingus a rebound shy of another double-double. She's got 18 and 9 in that game. It will be women's basketball action to close things out here at Marcus Pavilion next Saturday afternoon. The Saints women's team with one more game on their schedule. It's a home game. Oh, did the time change? Maybe the time. Wait, what? Now what have I done?
No. So the Saints will close out the season next week against Central Washington. So, I'm excited. One last game on the docket for sure.
Well, all right, there you have it. So we do have one more broadcast to bring you. However, barring a schedule change for me, this is my last game on the broadcast for this season anyway. It'll be Austin Burns flying solo for the broadcast next week. So this is going to do it for me. But let's just talk before we wrap things up. Let's just stand here for a moment and be so thankful for the fact that we've been able to do this for the last couple of months. There's still so many programs that are on absolute shutdown. They're not even practicing. They're not resuming any basketball-related activities. They can barely even look at one another. Let alone get out on a basketball court and shoot the ball around together. So I'm so happy, just so thrilled that we were able to be a part of bringing some college athletic competition back here at St. Martin's. This has been so fun to just get back to this certain level of one aspect of normalcy anyway. And that it's just a big thrill, too, for the student athletes getting an opportunity to do something that makes them feel normal, which in the case of these teams is just get out and play some basketball with your teammates and go to battle with them. And I know I'm not alone. I speak for thousands, if not millions of people when I say that it's just so – I'm just so thankful. Just so thankful that this is even happening at all in this particular day and age that we're in.
Yeah, I think this is a season nobody will forget. A lot of hoops, a lot of hurdles to jump through. But again, like you said, Jeff, it was being able to give these student athletes an opportunity to compete. Again, they're able to get a wonderful education, but, athletics is 50% of that role as well. And so, it's just fun to be able to be out here. It's a sense of normalcy, and that's what we talked about as an athletic staff at the beginning of this back in about September, October, is we wanted to be able to give our athletes a sense of normalcy. And so, hat off to, all the work that our trainers and, the administration of the universities, all the work that they put in to be able to make events like this possible.
Well, my friends, that's just about going to do it. I want to thank every single one of you for hanging in there with us from start to finish for tonight's broadcast. It was a great game. Came right down to the very last shot at the very last second of the contest. Central Washington able to scrape out a last-second victory here in Lacey, earning their first victory on the season. These two teams both with only one game left on their schedules as it's currently structured. That's going to do it for us here on the broadcast tonight. So on behalf of Austin Burns and everyone in the St. Martin's Athletic Department, this is Jeff Lucero signing off for tonight. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. And don't forget to tune in for the final home broadcast of St. Martin's women's basketball next Saturday against Central Washington. Take care, everybody. Good night.